The BRICS News. Hello, and welcome to the BRICS News, your ultimate destination for in-depth analysis, breaking updates, and powerful insights into the rapidly shifting global order. As the world watches, BRICS and its allies are reshaping the global economy, challenging traditional power structures, and leading the way toward a multipolar future. From economic strategies to political alliances, trade deals, and global market shifts, we bring you the latest developments that mainstream media often overlooks. In today's video, we dive deep into how Singapore is aligning itself with BRICS, what this means for global trade, and why the West is struggling to keep up. We'll break down the fears, the facts, and the future of global power dynamics. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the BRICS News, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Also, don't forget to share this video with fellow global thinkers, because knowledge is power. Now, let's get started. In recent years, the global geopolitical landscape has been undergoing a significant transformation. Emerging economies, particularly those within the BRICS consortium, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have been asserting their influence on the world stage. This shift has prompted various nations to reassess their foreign policies and economic alliances. Singapore, a prominent financial hub in Southeast Asia, has been navigating this evolving environment with strategic caution. While some Southeast Asian countries have shown interest in aligning more closely with BRICS, Singapore's approach remains firmly rooted in its national interests and established international partnerships. As of recent reports, Singapore has not pursued membership or formal alignment with the BRICS group. Analysts suggest that the likelihood of Singapore joining BRICS is low, primarily due to its existing economic and foreign policies, as well as its robust partnerships with Western nations. The nation's strategic decisions are carefully calibrated to maintain a balance between fostering regional cooperation and preserving its long-standing global relationships. Singapore's Foreign Minister, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, emphasized that any decision to join multilateral groupings must be clearly defined by Singapore's national interests. This stance reflects the country's commitment to a pragmatic foreign policy that prioritizes economic prosperity, regional stability, and global integration. The BRICS nations have been expanding their influence, with countries like Indonesia recently joining the bloc. Indonesia's membership is poised to unlock new economic opportunities, including technological cooperation in sectors such as renewable energy and digitalization. This expansion signifies a broader trend of emerging economies seeking to diversify their alliances and reduce dependence on traditional Western-dominated institutions. This realignment has raised concerns in Western capitals about potential global fragmentation. The inclusion of diverse economies into BRICS could lead to a more multipolar world order, challenging the hegemony that Western nations have maintained for decades. However, some experts argue that the heterogeneity within BRICS may also lead to internal challenges, as differing national interests could complicate cohesive policymaking. Concurrently, several Western nations are grappling with internal socio-economic challenges. In the United Kingdom, for instance, recent riots have led to a noticeable decline in footfall on high streets, with a reported 4.8% drop. These disturbances have been attributed to a combination of economic hardships, social unrest, and political dissatisfaction. Germany, Europe's economic powerhouse, is also facing a period of economic decline. Factors such as energy crises, policy shifts, and industrial transitions have contributed to a slowdown, which serves as a cautionary tale for the broader European Union. The challenges in Germany underscore the need for adaptive economic policies and the dangers of prolonged state intervention without flexibility. The combination of BRICS's rising influence and the internal challenges within Western nations suggests a gradual shift towards a more multipolar global order. Emerging economies are increasingly asserting their agency, seeking to reshape international norms and institutions to better reflect their interests and perspectives. For Singapore, this evolving landscape necessitates a nuanced approach. While the nation continues to engage with emerging economies and regional partners, it also remains committed to its established alliances and open economic policies. Singapore's strategic positioning allows it to act as a bridge between different spheres of influence, leveraging its strengths to navigate the complexities of a changing world. In conclusion, as global economic and political centers of gravity shift, nations like Singapore exemplify the importance of adaptable and interest-driven foreign policies. The interplay between the rise of groups like BRICS and the challenges faced by Western countries will continue to shape international relations in the years to come. Singapore today is recognized as one of the wealthiest nations in the world. It stands as the fourth richest country globally, with an exceptional infrastructure and cutting-edge technological advancements that serve as a benchmark for nations worldwide. A financial hub of Southeast Asia and a country known for its minimal corruption, Singapore boasts one of the most educated, healthiest, and productive populations in the world. However, its journey to prosperity was not always smooth. In 1965, when Malaysia decided to separate from Singapore, the city-state faced a bleak future. Over 80% of its population lived in poverty, with nearly 70% residing in slums. Unemployment was rampant, and crime rates were soaring, with gang violence and drug addiction plaguing society. Many believed that Singapore was destined to remain trapped in a vicious cycle of poverty and lawlessness. However, in the decades that followed, Singapore underwent a transformation so radical that it became one of the most remarkable economic success stories in modern history. This is the story of how Singapore, under the visionary leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, reshaped its destiny. It is a tale of ambition, strategic policymaking, and an unwavering commitment to national development. Singapore's significance in global trade was established long before it became an independent nation. In the early 19th century, the British East India Company, a powerful trading entity with its own military, dominated international commerce. This company controlled nearly 20% of the world's population and built its wealth through maritime trade, particularly in Chinese tea and opium. A key trade route for this lucrative business was the Strait of Malacca, a narrow but vital passage linking the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Recognizing the strategic importance of securing a port along this route, the British sent Sir Stamford Raffles to establish a trading post on a small island in 1819. This post would later grow into modern-day Singapore. The establishment of Singapore as a free port was a masterstroke that attracted traders from China, India, and Europe. By the mid-19th century, Singapore had become a booming hub for global commerce. However, this economic prosperity came with its own set of problems. By the early 20th century, the island had also become notorious for opium addiction, prostitution, and gang violence. The British, preoccupied with their global empire, did little to address these social issues. As a result, Singapore remained a colonial outpost with deep economic disparities. Singapore's vulnerability was exposed in 1941, when the Japanese army launched a surprise invasion during World War II. Within weeks, British defenses crumbled, and Singapore fell into Japanese hands. What followed was one of the darkest periods in the island's history. The Japanese occupation lasted from 1942 to 1945, and was marked by widespread atrocities, mass executions, and severe economic disruption. When the war ended, the British regained control, but their global influence was waning. The people of Singapore, having suffered immensely, began demanding self-governance. The seeds of nationalism were sown, setting the stage for Singapore's eventual independence. In 1959, Lee Kuan Yew, a young and determined lawyer, founded the People's Action Party, or PAP. Running on a platform of nationalism and economic reform, Lee quickly gained the trust of the people. In 1963, Singapore briefly merged with Malaysia, hoping for economic and political stability. However, deep-rooted ethnic and religious tensions led to Singapore's expulsion from Malaysia in 1965. Singapore was now an independent nation, but with no natural resources, no standing army, and no clear economic direction. When Singapore was thrust into independence, Lee Kuan Yew faced an overwhelming challenge. The nation was riddled with slums, unemployment, and racial tensions. However, Lee refused to accept failure. He embarked on an aggressive nation-building strategy that would define Singapore's future. To ensure political stability, Lee took controversial but effective measures. Banning violent protests and curbing free speech to prevent political chaos. Implementing severe punishments for crime and corruption, including the death penalty for drug trafficking. Outlawing corruption by enforcing some of the strictest anti-corruption laws in the world. These drastic policies ensured that Singapore remained one of the safest and least corrupt countries on the planet. One of Singapore's most pressing issues in the 1960s was housing. Nearly 70% of the population lived in slums. To address this, the government passed a law allowing it to purchase land at extremely low prices, constructed affordable housing for citizens, established the Central Provident Fund, or CPF, where 25% of a worker's salary was automatically saved for housing. Today, over 80% of Singaporeans live in government-built apartments, making it one of the highest homeownership rates in the world. Unlike resource-rich countries, Singapore had no oil, no minerals, and very little land for agriculture. Lee Kuan Yew realized that foreign investment was the only path forward. Key reforms included: Singapore offers low corporate taxes and business-friendly policies, making it an attractive destination for businesses around the world. Foreign companies can enjoy tax exemptions for up to 10 years, fostering a welcoming environment for international investments. The deregulation of industries in Singapore has been a key factor in encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation. Within a decade, Singapore attracted some of the world's largest corporations, including IBM, Hewlett-Packard, and General Electric. The result? Unemployment dropped to nearly 0%, and the GDP growth rate soared to 13%. Recognizing that Singapore's only resource was its people, Lee Kuan Yew heavily invested in education and skill development. The government built world-class universities and technical institutes, partnered with multinational companies to train the workforce, implemented a rigorous education system focused on math, science, and technology. Today, Singaporean students consistently rank #1 in global education assessments. The transformation of Singapore's infrastructure was another crucial factor in its success. Developing Changi Airport, now ranked as the world's best airport. Building one of the world's most advanced metro systems. Establishing the second largest port in the world, handling millions of containers annually. Singapore's GDP per capita in 1965 was around $500. Today, it exceeds $80,000. The country recycles almost 100% of its water, making it one of the most water-efficient nations. Singapore has one of the world's strictest anti-corruption laws, ranking among the least corrupt countries. It is the only country where chewing gum is banned to maintain cleanliness. Singapore has more trees than people, with nearly 50% of its land covered in greenery. The country's public housing system is so efficient that it has one of the highest homeownership rates in the world. Singapore is now the third largest petroleum trading hub despite having no natural oil reserves. The story of Singapore is a testament to the power of visionary leadership, strategic planning, and unwavering discipline. In just a few decades, it transformed from a struggling, resource-poor island to a global economic powerhouse. Lee Kuan Yew's policies may have been strict, but they worked. Today, Singapore is one of the wealthiest, cleanest, and most efficient countries in the world, a shining example of what good governance can achieve. As other nations continue to struggle with corruption, poor governance, and economic instability, Singapore stands as a beacon of hope and inspiration, proving that size and resources do not define a nation's success. Its leadership and policies do.